My dad was a custom home builder, and my mom was a paralegal, both of them self-employed, and they were busy with work, obviously making sure, because they were self-employed, that food was on the table, bills were paid, that kind of thing. Not that they didn't love us, but they were busy doing their own thing. Thad and Stacy, they rented an office from my parents and quickly realized that my parents didn't go to church, and we had no understanding of God or Jesus or any of that story, and they started picking us up for church. And they had a peach Volkswagen Bug that they would pick us up in, and we all would pile into it with everybody that they could pick up, not just us.
Well, I think we were doing work for her parents, and through that we met Heather and her sister, and like a babysitting gig at that time. I guess we were in our 20s.
She was a lot of fun. She was dependable. She helped us a lot with our children. We were foster parents and had children in our home that needed friends, and she was a good friend.
It was Sundays, Wednesdays, every time they could grab us, we were in that Bug going to church. And we spent all the time with them that we could. They were just absolute anchors in our life. And Sundays, Wednesdays turned into spring breaks and summers. I knew that they knew Jesus, and I wanted what they had. I wasn't there yet.
When I was 4 or 5 years old, my parents split up, and we spent a lot of time with a babysitter. The people came around on Saturday, and there was a bus, and people would come out and invite kids in the street to church. So that's how my relationship with Jesus started.
I met them when I was in the 2nd grade, and I was saved at summer camp when I was in the 6th grade. It was one of the last nights, and they preached the sermon, and I remember sitting there and literally holding the seat underneath me because I was like, I'm not going up there. And I couldn't help it. I could not help it. It was like God just picked that chair up and threw me to the front of the room. And that was all she wrote. My parents were very strict, very, very strict. I had never really been allowed to make choices by myself, and I had no concept of independence at all. And when I moved out of the house, my dad, what he told me was, if you get in trouble, don't call me. Do not waste that phone call. I will not come get you. So when I moved out, I did all the things and made all of the bad choices that one could make in a very short period of time. Right after I turned 19, I ended up pregnant, and the guy that I was dating at that point looked at me and said, You're fun, but I'm not doing this with you. I'm not doing this with you. And I didn't know what to do. I absolutely didn't know what to do. I couldn't call home. So I ended up getting an abortion at that point. Oh, it was awful. It was absolutely awful. I left there a mess. I wouldn't go to church. I wouldn't attend because I felt like I was not acceptable to the church. It was not something that I would ever be able to tell anyone in the church. I didn't feel like I was redeemable at that point. My best friend, she and her husband are like, we have been watching this church online. It's really easy. You ought to check it out. It's just turn it on Sunday mornings. So I did. And that's when I started watching it. And it was enough to speak to me. In 2022, womb to tomb, Pastor Joey said, no matter what you've done, you belong here. And for me, it was like a weight lifted off of me. And I didn't have to feel like that anymore. And I'd never heard a pastor say that out loud. And it changed the way I felt about my relationship with God, my relationship with church. I held on to that for so long, and I didn't have to hold it anymore. I could just hand it to God. All of the people that I have currently are my chosen family, and they're all there for a reason. I had Thad and Stacy that were amazing. They love Jesus, and they respect each other, and they love each other, and they were this model of what this beautiful marriage should be. That's God-given. I mean, there's no other way to explain that.
And we could have never known when Heather was 6 years old that we would be here 35 years later. It's just pretty awesome. Because I don't think on this side of heaven that we get to see that much of the fruit, and to know that I'll see her when I get to heaven.
It's grace all the way around, because I don't deserve it. I don't deserve that kind of grace. None of us do. None of us do, but God chooses to give it to us.